In many of my recordings, I've even received emails asking me why. I have stated that according to what I have, with my nose being very close to the ground, with my ear also being very close to the ground, according to what I have, President Uhuru Kenyatta is still ahead. He still has more votes in the upcoming presidential election. And, a lot of people are puzzled, they keep on asking me, what are you talking about? Don't you read newspapers? And you're aware. In fact, even one person told me point blank, my friend, you have no understanding of politics. Yeah, you're a complete novice in politics. Of course, I didn't defend myself. I didn't tell them about my track record in politics and political commentary. I'm a humble guy, and I'm always ready to learn. If I made a mistake, I'm always ready to learn. I think that's one of the things that has given me the edge. I'm always willing to learn. Because in politics, sometimes, if you know too much or you think you know it all, surprises are always around the corner. Anyway, I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to explain what is actually Jubilee's secret weapon, and which NASA needs to be very careful about. And to explain it, I'll start with a story. My late dad was a real political analyst. He was a cop. He didn't have anything to do with politics. He didn't have any schooling in statistics or anything like that. Although before he joined the cops, he briefly worked with the Bureau of Statistics. Anyway, that's a story for another day. But really, bottom line, he was not well schooled as such. But I think he had a born ability to analyze politics. And so in the run-up to the 1992 elections, I was already a grown-up, but I was still learning from him about politics and about various things. As we were going to that election, this was the first multi-party elections we were holding in the country since independence, and he was very excited about them. He really believed in true democracy. He believed in an open system, and he was very excited about them. And he was even entertaining the prospect of the incumbent losing those elections. Of course, that was long after we had not seen Moi's true colors by then. Moi had never actually been in a competitive election before then. So really, people didn't know what to expect. So a lot of naive Kenyans, including possibly could put my dad there, a lot of naive Kenyans believed those elections were going to be fair. So as we went into the elections, something happened. The main party which was going to those elections was Ford. Ford was united. It had joined a lot of parties together and a lot of tribes. And then one day my dad made a very interesting comment. He said, "Oh, this is terrible. These guys are going to lose. The Kikuyus have split their vote." He was referring to this situation where Kenneth Matiba and Mwai Kibaki were both running in the same election, and both from the House of Mumbi. Those days I was still a novice. I was still learning politics. And I asked him, why? What do you mean? Why is that so important? And my dad was, I was a very good student. That one I can defend myself. But my dad was not always a very good teacher. He made a very sarcastic comment about how if I didn't know the answer to that question, probably maybe I was not his real son. And he didn't answer that question at all. But my point here is that years later, I was able to see exactly what he meant. And I'll tell you what he meant in a small illustration, which I think you should be seeing on the screen right now. Take 45,000 polling stations. That's roughly the number of polling stations we're going to have in this election. And then place 25 votes. Just 25. 25 votes are very few. Those are about 4-5 households. Place 25 votes in each polling station. So you multiply 25 votes by 45,000 polling station. Look at that crazy number you get. Over 1 million, right? Now, one unique thing about the House of Mumbi is that they're scattered all over the country. Yeah? And while majority of them may be in central, all over the country and in every polling station, you will get a certain number from the House of Mumbi casting their votes. Okay? And all of them obviously will cast their vote for who. Okay? Now, when you multiply that figure, that's the number you get. The truth is that the tyranny of numbers is not a myth. And the truth, ladies and gentlemen, anybody who stands for president who is from the House of Mumbi starts with a huge advantage. Especially, to remind you about my old man's story, especially if it is a single candidate from that community. They have a huge advantage. And now, if we can go back to the Moi days, 1992, this is probably what Moi saw, and this is what gave Moi the idea on how to rig elections. Because the way Moi elections were rigged is that small number of votes were added to each polling station. So that, the number was so small that you could not notice, but then the numbers tended to add up. So that at the end of the day, you'd always end up with more votes. And people would wonder, how did he end up with more votes? The opposition were completely fooled. The opposition were completely outsmarted, because they knew something had gone wrong here, but they just couldn't figure out what had gone wrong. That is a simple strategy Mzee Moi used to use. Of course, Moi had a very huge advantage. A lot of, the thinking of Wazungus and unfortunately the thinking of a lot of Kenyans nowadays is that if somebody can't speak Queen's English or can't speak the English language fluently in the English accent, they are not smart. This is the view even Kenyans have. That if you meet a guy who's speaking with an accent or doesn't speak English, with a proper accent, maybe speaks English with a heavy accent from a certain tribe, that person is not intelligent. Nothing could be further from the truth. And the Wazungus had made this mistake with Moi time and again. They assumed Moi was not intelligent, and they paid big time for it. Okay, so this is what happened, and this is the real truth. So right now, as people look at the numbers, the focus of most people is on Central Province and areas where we have large populations of House of Mumbi people. But the truth is that the Kikuyu are scattered in every single corner of the Republic. Okay? They're scattered in every single corner of the Republic. So as you do your arithmetic, remember that. And therefore it is much harder to beat a candidate who comes from this tribe. I mean, without even rigging. It is much more difficult to defeat a candidate who comes from this particular tribe. The other thing is that these people tend to vote as a bloc, which is not necessarily a good thing for national unity. In fact, it's a bad thing that they usually vote for a bloc. But the advantage it has, they vote as a bloc. The advantage it has on a candidate is that they can be sure of sizable number of votes. And if we go back in history, this is the reason why the Mwai Kibaki we knew all those years suddenly changed in the run-up to the 2007 elections. Before then, I mean, when Moi left, we didn't have that much tribalism in Kenya. But with waning support and when he had a problem with the LDP, the Raila wing of the National Rainbow Alliance at that time, somebody advised him just fall back on the tribal card and, just play tribal politics. And since he was a member of the House of Mumbi, it worked because he already had sizable support. Of course, the 2007 election was massively rigged, and of course, Raila won those elections. But I think you get my point. You get what I'm talking about here. So I think now you'll understand me more when I tell you that the numbers have not changed. The president's still on the lead. I mean, no matter what happens, you cannot tell me that those the voters of the House of Mumbi are going to change their vote. That because this and this and this happened, they're going to change their vote and vote for NASA. That is impossible. So in view of that, that has not changed. So if NASA wants to win these elections, what they have to do is to make sure that they get the numbers. It's as simple as that. And of course, they start with a disadvantage because of what I've just illustrated very clearly here. They start with a huge disadvantage. And therefore, they have to make sure that they get a lot of the other communities on their side to vote for them. It's as simple as that. I feel it's very important to emphasize that I've got nothing against the Kikuyus. In fact, from my recordings, people are saying I'm a Jubilee supporter. I have nothing against NASA. I wish both parties the best. But personally, I would not vote for either of them. Okay? Maybe I would also take this opportunity to quickly give you my voting history so that it is clear to all that I don't support any of those two sides. In the 1992 elections, I didn't vote. In 1997, I was up country and I voted tribally. I voted for Charity Ngilu, who was the presidential candidate that year. From 97, when did we have the next election? 2002, I voted for Mwai Kibaki. I believe a vast majority of us voted. The guy had a lot of votes. And then in the ill-fated 2007 elections, I voted Raila Odinga. Maybe there's an interesting story I need to tell you there. My dad and the person who taught me politics was absolutely mad with me. He was so mad with me that he took off and went to vote alone. We didn't go together because he had gotten an inkling that I'm going to vote for Raila. Anyway, in 2013, I voted for Martha Karua. This year round, definitely I'm not going to vote for NASA, and I'm not going to vote for Jubilee. Definitely, that one is a surety. I will look for a candidate, and I'll vote as always on principle. I've only voted once tribally, and I learned a very big lesson because there's a bitter taste which was left in my mouth. I wondered how my brains could stop working and tribal demons take over inside me. And from then on, I saw that I would never cast a vote ever again in my life based on my tribe. So it doesn't matter. People say that you umepoteza kura yako. I don't think so. I'll just vote for a person, let them lose. But at least I will have a clear conscience that I voted for such a person, not because I was following the mob, but I voted for such a person out of principle. And hopefully as we go forward, more and more Kenyans will be persuaded to think how I'm thinking. Yeah, that is my prayer every day. Yeah, for better Kenya. I think that's all for now. Thank you very much for listening to me. This is Chris Kumekucha. Bye.